been trying hard to keep my cool, but when you're near, there's nothing that I can do. When you're walking in, I know it's true. It doesn't even matter how hard I try, 'cause when I hear your voice, my walls come down. Boy, you are the only thing I want. There must be a way I can make you see that if we fell in love, it will be so sweet. But when it's you and me, nobody can bring us down, bring us down.
Like with your grandfather, for something, it's about his hair. Like, I know it's your grandfather because it's pretty specific. He shows me like a certain hair. So he must have had a full head of hair when he passed away, or did he have? It's kind of hard for me to describe it to you, but he always comes through, and the first thing I see is always his hair, and then he kind of like the shadow comes through.
I got goosebumps already. Wow, we haven't even been going for.
No, we haven't either. I'm just explaining to you.
So I have my grandfather's hair, and he went through cancer treatment. He kept the bulk of his hair, but his hairline I have, and Brandon, who my husband is a celebrity hairstylist, always, when he sees photos, can identify that as I lose hair here, I will have the confidence to always have this flap here that Grandpa had, and that I directly relate to and consistently mention throughout the past, like I would say 10 years.
Okay. Well, that makes sense, because the fact that not only does he show me his hair is very specific and it's some meaning, and then your photo superimposes on top of him. So, and at first I was kind of like, well, what's that meaning? I understand you're his grandfather, but the fact that he's saying that you look like him, like it's almost like you're a spinning image of him, I guess, is what he's saying. So we're good.
Hi, Grandpa. Grandpa's there. He validated that.
He validated for sure. He's been waiting since yesterday. Okay. He's been excited. So, and probably because of the fact that you said you've gone to psychic before, but I don't think you've been to a psychic medium. So he's communicated through the other ones, but this one's like a full on, I'm in the middle between you guys. He's coming through with an uncle. Like, I'm hearing an uncle, and I'm trying to, do you have an uncle that's passed over as well?
I mean,
brother of his?
Yes, numerous.
Okay. Because he's coming through with a brother of his as well. Did they kind of look alike? Because it's almost like they have similar energy, the two that are coming through.
Yes, there's numerous brothers of his that looked like him, and there's one living one which is identical to him.
Is that the youngest?
I believe so. I believe so, but I'm not familiar. I don't know.
Because he's saying, because as soon as you said that, I heard youngest. So, which means he's younger than him, regardless. But he's coming through. Okay. It's giving me a B sounding name, Brad, something like that. But I'm not sure if he's referring to Brandon, your husband, or.
There was Bruce.
Oh, okay. Is that who the one that's passed over as well with him?
One of them is named Bruce, who's passed.
Okay. Maybe that's who he's telling me he's here with him. Okay. We've established that you're both here. Is there anything that you want to say to Craig? Has your grandmother been ill?
Yes.
Okay. Is she having trouble breathing?
Yep.
Because he's giving me that. And I'm getting I'm getting goosebumps right now from him. He's been spending a lot of time with her. So I don't know if she's been feeling his presence lately.
Mm.
He's giving me the he's making me clear. He's giving me the impression that her breathing gets worse at night.
Mm.
So, and I'm not sure if this is what she really does. And I'm not, it might be something that he's trying to tell me this is how bad it's getting, because it's almost like he sees me, he's showing me a photo of her like kind of sitting up in bed and kind of like trying to loosen that up, whatever that's inside. Does she poo-poo it though? Like kind of like it's just a tickle in my throat?
Oh, please, it's anything but the truth.
Okay, because he's like, she's lying.
Mm-hmm.
She's not being completely honest to what is really going on there. So if you ask her, it's always like, it's just a tickle, it's nothing. And that's just because she doesn't want to worry you guys about it. This is your dad's mom, right? Correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He's just saying for your dad and your mom to check on her more often and to really probe. Because I think your dad has been trying to get it, and she'll like kind of swat away like, it's nothing, it's nothing. And it may not be, it could turn into something worse because she's not allowing. It's almost like he's showing me that she needs to start moving more, and she's being more reluctant to move. Like, it's funny that you are fitness and she needs to start doing more exercises specifically to get that. It's almost like he's showing me like gunk and kind of like in her lungs kind of thing, and she almost needs to get that going so that kind of clears it up. And because it hurts sometimes, she's more reluctant to not move as much as because she seems to be that she was always kind of active and doing stuff, but now that she's had this, she's not as active as she was before. So it's almost like she needs to start getting pushed.
She just
He's making me laugh because he goes, you need to shove her. He seems like he's like a funny guy.
definitely, most definitely. This makes sense because it was like a week ago where the doctors advised more exercise, and the wellness center that she was doing and seeing prior to pandemic times, she was seeing them regularly, pandemic happened, it was halted altogether, and she's just now getting back to that. But I sent grandma workout programs, and she hasn't been able to do it for over a month, I think. And I have been meaning to send her new exercises to do. So this is a great reminder.
I'm wanting to know what Bruce is here for some specific reason too. Because he like what I heard from him was just basically moral support that he came through with your grandfather. Just because they all hang, they're showing me a card game. I don't know. They used to play cards when they were, because he's like literally sitting at a card table, and they're all just sitting there playing cards, like having a card game.
All time.
Okay, that's what it. Because he's just like that's why I came through, because they were. I felt like he's giving me the feeling that they were in the middle of a card game, and your grandfather left to come and talk to you, and so Bruce is like, I'll go with you.
Oh, I like that. That's cute.
Which is funny. But yeah, so that's what they're up there. They're clearly up there playing the game of cards. They're loving it.
That brings me joy. I'm glad, because they loved it here on Earth. That's for sure.
Yeah, so they're doing their thing. Your grandfather keeps showing me this image of 1920s, and it's but it's not him from 1920s. It's more something here from 1920s. It's like people modern day dressing up in the 1920s. So it's almost like a cabaret type thing. Are you looking at doing a cabaret type?
I mean, it Cabaret is probably my favorite musical, and I
Okay.
said on record that I would go back to the theater to be in Cabaret.
Okay. Because he keeps showing me this happening. And that's why I was having a hard time, because it started off as a black and white cabaret type scene, but then it became in full color. And it was because I don't really know too much about it. So it was almost like I keep hearing Chicago. So it's almost like the musical Chicago. So I don't know if you've ever thought of doing the musical Chicago, or the opportunity is going to come up.
The two musicals, Cabaret and Chicago, are a couple of the very few musicals I'd consider to go back to
Okay.
doing theater for
But
sure.
you know what? Grandpa's on full support for you looking at
Thank you,
that.
Brent.
So, I mean, this is pretty specific things. And I know we're friends and stuff, but this is stuff that I don't know. You know, there's certain things that you know as friends, but there isn't other stuff that you don't. So,
Yeah,
um, I'm asking him to give me stuff that I wouldn't know about you.
nice.
Um, did he used to take you fishing all the time? Was like fishing your thing with him? Because he keeps showing me fishing.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Did when you finally told your family that you were gay, was he still alive?
No,
He had already passed over.
yeah, he passed over
He
before
keeps he
before I.
keeps showing me a conversation that was being had while you were fishing, with, and I don't know who the other person was, but you were fishing and you were talking about coming out and about being gay and your husband Brandon, because I believe he keeps bringing up Brandon as well. He just wants you to know he was there at that point.
Wow.
Yeah. And I don't, he's making me feel that you kind of sensed him, but you didn't know it was him, because at one point you kind of looked behind you, or you did some kind of like almost like you felt like you were being watched kind of thing. And he just wants you to acknowledge that that was him. He was there during that time. Because it's almost like I get the feeling that you were talking to your father about
Well,
it.
yeah, I mean, I'm glad Grandpa was there to support it because it was a big deal because it was also national cameras. It was one of the most important moments in our Newlywed series that we had
Okay.
for the world to basically see.
Okay. So, because he's showing me that he was there, like he was there the whole time. Because I don't know what Newlyweds really showed, like what the show really showed of it. He's giving me the feeling that there was a lot more said, and it wasn't really. He's showing me a pair of scissors. He goes, the way it was cut, he was like, I didn't like.
Yeah.
And he said he was there the whole time. He goes, I was there with my boys. So he's calling you guys both his boys. He's like, I was there with my boys. He goes, I was there during the conversation. And he
Wow.
said that he supported you. He supported you in everything. I mean, you could have told him that you wanted to live in a shoebox. He would have been like, what size shoebox you're gonna get?
Did in New York, so I lived in a
Yeah.
shoebox.
Yeah. So he wants you to know that he's very, very proud of you. And it's specifically because of the fact that you followed your dreams. You didn't let growing up in this small little town with small-minded people, because let's face it, not to grow up in a small town with knowing that you're different and having to hide it for the longest time. He said he knew it was difficult because he had, I almost get the feeling that he had to hide some of his own identity as well.
Mm.
And he's giving me that feeling that he had to hide it because of his time that he grew up. And he said that he is so proud the fact that you had that courage to come out, to move away from the small town, not knowing what was going on, like not knowing where you were going, what was going to happen, and not really giving a shit and going for it. Because I don't know if you've ever said this or if you ever thought that, but he keeps saying, what have I got to lose? What have I got to lose? And he said that was the kind of attitude that you needed to get to where you've been. And he's so set, and he's like, the path that you've traveled has taught you a lot of things, has taught you to be compassionate to others, accepting, and your talent, and to just be the man that you are today. And he said he's so proud of the man that you are, and the fact that you didn't listen to anyone else when they said you can't do this.
Yeah.
I know sometimes it did affect you, because he said he would see you by yourself when someone would make a homophobic joke at your expense. Or would say that you had no talent, or what are you doing? What do you think you're doing this? You're too big for your britches and things like that. I don't know if that was a word he used to use, because I don't usually use too big for my britches. And he's saying that the fact that you let that affect you maybe for a millisecond, and then you went, you know what? No one can tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Clearly. He loves the fact that you're with Brandon, because Brandon, you're like yin and yang. Like literally the movie Jimmy, You Complete Me is what he's saying. Because of the fact that sometimes you can be a little la 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 la, and he's the one who literally grounds you and brings you down back to earth and say, okay, we can do that, but we've got to see how we're going to be able to do it. And he's your voice of reason.
Sure. Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah.
Because if you didn't have him, he's like, he goes, I don't know what you would be doing right now.
That's true.
So, and you're also good for him, because he tends to be too serious and too in a box kind of thing, and you're the one who's always like that. Your grandfather's showing me is that little dun, 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 dun. You like pop out kind of thing, la, 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 with the glitter.
Of course, with the glitter too.
Yeah. So you're like constantly pulling on him, and he's reluctantly going, and the two of you guys have made a life together that complement each other. So he's very excited about that. He's excited that you decided to speak to Brandon that day in the gym.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He said, and it wasn't a coincidence.
No.
There was divine intervention, whatever you want to call it, but it wasn't a coincidence. Because some of the other yahoos you dated, he wasn't too happy about.
Me either. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So, because I wasn't out at the time before he died, I really did contemplate talking to him, because he was on his deathbed for quite some time. But then I didn't want to make it about that, because there's not much he could have done or conversation he could have had about it. Is he okay with that decision? Like, that I didn't bring it up?
He's okay with it. he's okay with you, but he said that he would have understood it, and he said, I always knew my boy.
Yeah.
So he was just waiting for you to acknowledge it,
Yeah.
um, and for you to be comfortable talking about it. Because it's one thing to acknowledge it, it's another thing to be comfortable discussing it. So, and he understood that
Recording?
we can record. We're recording now.
Okay. Yeah. So in that little break, I went pee. Thank you.
You welcome.
And then I called mom and dad. And for starters, because my mind doesn't work that well, and because it's been so long, it's not Bruce, it's Bert, Uncle
Okay.
Bert. So
Okay.
Uncle Bert must be pissed. I'm sorry, Uncle Bert. I called you Bruce. I didn't mean to. He didn't have kids. I think he was one of the only ones that did not have children, though.
Okay.
Um, and then we got Bernard, who would have been my either great-grandfather or great-great-grandfather. So those are B's.
So those are two B's. Okay. Well then.
Yeah.
Okay.
That we know of.
Bert. Okay. All right.
But Uncle Bert and grandfather played cards religiously.
So they were card sharks together.
Yes, absolutely. Right. And to confirm it, yes, Uncle Bert would absolutely have been golf attire. But I would assume that would be a lot of the family without playing golf.
Okay. So that's the connection with the golf, is just he liked to wear the golf clothes. He was like, looked like Arnold Palmer, but he didn't want to, he didn't want to play.
I don't know if they would spend the money on playing. I think they probably all would have thought it was a waste of time being Ramses. Like, why am I going to pay for that and toss around
I could
some
do it
balls?
for free.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So they're still here. Was there a majority of men in that family? Was it mostly men? Like the 13 children, was the majority men? Like I'm seeing like a split of like 60-40, 30-70 kind of thing. So it was mostly a lot of testosterone in that family.
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm getting. Like I'm getting mostly male energy. And very strong male energy. Very hard-headed and very opinionated.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if that's your grandfather or if that's whoever else is coming through. But I'm getting, it's almost like the energy, it's hard for me to differentiate the energy now because they've come through. And when I say a cluster, they've all come through and they all have similar energy. Like there's no female energy in there. It's all male. Apparently they all left the card games and they all came out. And that's the thing. They're all kind of bickering with one another too. But it's not like full on fighting, but they're all like, they all have their own opinion and they all think they're right. And they're trying to get the other one to agree and the other one is not. And they're all having an argument right now with each other. So I don't know if that's what used to happen, and I don't know what they're arguing about, to tell you the truth. But if one said the sky was blue, the other one would say, no, it's actually like, kind of white with clouds, and they're not arguing. Like they're both coming at it. They both have the same opinion, but they all see something differently. So it's just funny. That's their energy. Very hard-headed, stubborn.
Yeah.
Is your dad a bit like this? Stubborn?
Yeah. Of course, yes. He's a carbon copy of them all. Yeah.
Okay, because he's saying that it's not just, he's like, they're very proud, like our sons are like this too. Just like, okay.
And out of it, yeah.
Yeah. Which just makes me laugh. So were they farmers?
No, I don't think so. But we lived We lived
on
surrounded by farms, but no, I don't think they were.
they show me fields, like they're showing me fields, and I don't know if they were younger, if they used to work on a field, or if they did field work, or if they were associated with.
I don't know.
There was a love for gardening there.
Huh. I don't know. I'd have to ask, research.
But I'm getting, and it could be just he lived on a farm. Your grandfather owned a farm, right, or had some land.
Not a farm, no. They had land, but I mean, surrounding all of us living where we're
Yeah,
from is
well,
farm.
the town that we're in is all farm.
Yeah.
So, because he keeps showing me field, like a huge field, and I'm trying to figure out what's the association with it. And maybe that's just because he's reminding you of home. It reminds you of Harrow, which is farm.
Yeah.
Did you guys used to do apple picking a lot?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Because that's a memory he's giving me of you guys apple picking.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's what the correlation is. Is showing me the farm to show me the apple picking. That's something, and you know, it's funny. This is the apple picking season right now. So he's showing me the apple picking season. And if he was alive and you were here, we would be apple picking. Not we, but you guys would be apple picking.
Making me hungry.
Empire apples?
I don't know. I never know the difference. I always call my mom and say, "What apples do I like again?" Every time I'm at the grocery store. So
He's saying I don't know if that's ones he liked, but Empire apple is the one that he's mentioned. So now he's talking about. I know that Brandon is a celebrity hairstylist, so he's clearly working with his hands a lot. But he's showing me him having issues with his hands to the point where I don't know if they're cramping, if they cramp, if he's having, is that arthritis in his hands now?
We don't know what it is, but he absolutely has issues and tightness in his hands.
Because he's showing me him stepping away from doing the manual labor of it and doing more of a teacher type thing.
Oh, okay.
Stepping more into that type of role. Because I think Brandon likes to be very hands-on. And although he loves the work, is having issues with it. And I don't know if he's starting to have issues in his shoulders as well. But he's showing me, particularly with his hands, that sometimes he'll go do something and it's almost like they're starting to cramp a little bit, especially if he's been working a long day. And so he's...
And neck and shoulders here.
Yeah. And even though your grandfather's here, someone's stepping forward, and the person that's actually talking about Brandon, which Brandon's not there, I shouldn't really be talking about him, but it's still connected with them. And
I'm sure he's listening at the door.
Oh, is he? Okay, well, he can pop in if he likes, because
should I bring him?
Yeah, go get him.